Sorry, I went off a tangent. That still makes me upset to this day. But
clearly, we felt that. Everybody felt that anger.
that passion behind it. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Movie Night with the Youngs. It's Nicole here.
Hi, it's Brittany.
And we are back with another episode. If you are new here, we are two sisters that are rewatching movies from our childhood and determining whether they affect us in the same way as they did back then. So tonight, we are doing The Mighty Ducks, released in 1992, directed by Stephen Herrick. We have a few stars in there: Emilio Estevez, Lane Smith, Joshua Jackson, and Heidi Kling. So hopefully you watch the movie this week so you can join in on our conversation today. So let's just get right into the podcast.
Ooh. Again,
just
music cue. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Just think it's there, guys. Just think it's
we
there.
said we would do it last week, and here we are. We have not done it yet.
We're learning. We're growing. It's
very
fine.
True. So just to give an overview of the movie, Emilio Estevez is Gordon Bombay, who is basically the main star of the film. He is a lawyer with a law firm, a prestigious lawyer who is always used to winning. He runs into some legal trouble. He gets a DUI, and part of his community service is to coach this Pee Wee Hockey League. District 5. District 5. So the movie just kind of goes with him coaching this team and their journey with him and the team together. So we'll just go ahead and get right in and start talking about it. So that kind of the movie begins with him as the lawyer. They give kind of a background story of his childhood where he actually played Pee Wee hockey. He was really good at Pee Wee hockey too. He played for the team, the Hawks, which was kind of that top team in that Pee Wee league. And they go through this little, segment where, it's the final game of the championship, and he gets that penalty shot and he ends up missing the shot. And your heart just breaks for him because
nobody hugs him. Like they just show a shot of him on the ice, oh no, and his coach ugh. It's really sad.
Yeah, his coach is a little bit of a douche.
Not a little bit, a lot of it.
Yeah, doesn't support really the team. All he cares about winning, basically.
Yeah, what was their chant? It's not worth winning if you can't win big.
What big?
About what? It's not worth winning if you can't win bad? No, that makes no sense. It's not worth winning if you can't win big.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always tell Dad when they win at their games, by 1 or 2, I'm like, but at least you won. And he kind of does have that sentiment of nah, man, we should have blown him out of the water. But it's this coach is there's one point in the games where he's we should be killing them by more than this, and it's all right, just these are children. Yeah. Calm down.
And he put so much pressure on Gordon that if he loses, if he doesn't make the shot, the life is over. The team's going to hate him. I'm going to hate you.
Yeah.
You're not making the team next year.
Yeah, which I actually wonder, did he play that next year? It doesn't say that he ever went to go back to play for the Hawks. There's later in the movie where they show all the banners that they won, and then the second place banner from his year, and I'm oh, but did he play the next season?
I don't think he did, because the impression I get throughout the movie is that was kind of that pivotal point in his life where hockey was no longer his passion anymore.
Poor Gordon.
Yeah, we felt bad for him.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into how he's related to this Hawk team that later on plays with the Mighty Ducks. So we go into his career as a lawyer. He becomes a lawyer as an adult. Hockey really isn't a part of his life anymore. He hates it. So he ends up getting into some legal trouble. Obviously, he gets a DUI, and part of the community service is to coach this, Pee Wee hockey team.
Yeah, and I think they really Pee Wee hockey team.
Yeah. District 5 is their name. So I think They
don't even have a name. They're just District 5.
Poor kids. But it goes into, I think the movie really kind of starts there where he shows up to that first practice and he gets a glimpse of District 5 hockey team. And they, right off the bat, the movie kind of paints this picture of, this team that is not good at all. None of them know how to play. They've got no uniforms. Their pads are, old newspapers.
They have no helmets.
Hockey
gear is expensive, though. It's quite expensive.
Yeah. Um,
Understood.
yeah. I mean, at least they all have skates
Yeah,
and the stick.
and they
That's
know
the
how to
important
skate.
part. Yeah, yeah. And you could
Oh,
tell, like, right off the bat, though, even though they can't play, they're all friends. Like, they
yeah.
have fun no matter what, even though they really suck.
That's mean. They just needed guidance. No,
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, they're definitely there to play with their friends and play a sport that they enjoy. It is definitely a different feeling from watching the Hawks at the beginning of the movie where they're very regimented. They're very like, again, you can't, it's not worth winning if you can't win big. Whereas the
Mhm.
Ducks are like, hey, man, we just want to play. Like even Connie Moreau, she comes up and she tells the coach, like, we almost got a goal one time.
Yeah.
Like we almost scored, like they were just happy to be on the ice. I think it's very interesting though, because the beginning when he meets them, when he like pulls up to the lake and sees them all playing and he drives his limo out onto the ice,
Onto the ice.
I honestly felt like this is such a dark movie. And this movie is way darker than I remember it when we were kids. And I think it's because as kids, I gravitated towards what was happening to the child actors, like the kid characters.
Mhm.
But now as an adult, I was really focusing on Gordon. And I'm like, okay, first of all, he starts out by getting like, first of all, he's not a nice person, but then he starts out by getting like a DUI. Like full on, he's drinking in the car, he's talking back to the cops. Like we see the whole
Mhm.
interaction. I'm like, this isn't really a good message to kids. Like you get upset, just go drink and then drive and you'll get arrested.
Mhm.
But then when he pulls up to the practice and he gets out, literally, Jesse, played by Brandon Adams, who we talked about last week in The Sandlot, we love him. He comes up and is like all tough and like, "What you doing in my hood? Take your vanilla booty." He literally says vanilla booty.
Yeah.
Like, take your vanilla booty off here. We don't want any drugs.
Yeah. They
Like
automatically
they
think
think
he's a
he's a
drug dealer.
drug
Uh-huh.
dealer. And then he like reaches into his jacket to get a letter, but all the kids back up thinking it's a gun.
Gun. Uh-huh.
Like I was like, never caught on to any of those as a kid. I was like, I
Yeah.
feel like this, and like how we were saying before we started, like all the stars of this movie, the way they're listed are the adults. Like I think this might have been an adult movie that had children in it.
Mhm.
That for some reason, that's how like the studio packaged it. And then when the movie became a success amongst family, that's where they changed tones for the sequel to be like, oh no, this is actually a kids movie. Cause like even the way this movie looks, it's like darker colors, really saturated. Like it just, I don't know, it just feels like a darker movie than I remember.
But I only feel like that at the beginning. I don't get that feeling the entire movie. Like I really only
Well,
get it in the very beginning to connect his story with the kids. And then
well,
after
that's
that,
true. But
there's none of that.
but there's cursing in here. Like even some
Yeah.
of the kids curse, which I didn't
Mhm.
catch on either. I
Mhm.
mean, there is a little thing, again, I'm catching on to all the naughty bits there's like a whole scene where the kids like find Sports Illustrated swimsuit editions
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
their bullies
We
are like,
haven't gotten there yet,
I
baby.
know, but I'm just saying, like, it's just proof that it's kind of a darker tone.
Yeah.
They're talking about like masturbating in the bathroom to Sports Illustrated. You wouldn't even know
Mhm.
like, it's just, I just didn't catch on to it as a kid. Over my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Continue.
But when he does drive on the ice, it kinda shows, like, the difference of worlds that they both are in. So you have this,
Yeah.
like, high prestigious lawyer, he shows up in his, his pea coat in the limousine, he's got a driver, and almost like he's too good to be here. He's
Yeah.
above community service. And
Yeah.
then you just have these kids who, you know, just wanna coach, basically. No
Yeah.
matter the attitudes, even, as much pushback as they give Gordon Bombay, they still wanna be coached. Like,
Yeah.
and
They
they
want to be
expect that
guided.
from him, and he, at first just definitely doesn't wanna give them. And they go into, like, this sequence of, he's like, "Okay, show me what you got." And he's like, "Well," Aberman's like, "Well, just let you know, we really suck."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll be the judge of that." And then,
Ugh.
you get a glimpse, you get to see them play, and yeah, they're awful.
Yeah. Can we also just call out Goldberg wearing the Zubaz pants?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you guys
Dad
remember
had so
Zubaz,
many of
oh my
those,
gosh,
also
so
different
many.
colors.
I mean, sponsorship by Zubaz if they're making a comeback, because yeah,
Uh,
Dad
mm.
had maybe the whole collection. But I saw them here and I was like, oh, good job,
Mm.
Goldberg.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, basically, I mean, they end with, he's got his hands full for sure, and he really
Mhm.
wants no part of it, and,
Yeah,
they ask him at the end, "Are you gonna be here,
for the game.
tomorrow for our actual game?" And, you know He's like, yes, by the state of Minnesota. Like he has to be there as part of his sentence.
Legally, I have to show up to this game. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So, then they go into their first game and I just felt for him as soon as he walked in because it ends up being the Hawks as his first game, the team he played on his whole childhood that, he associated with him missing that goal and missing that
Mhm.
championship. And like you said, they show all those banners, winning banners on the wall, and then you've got that one yellow banner that's second place, and that's because he missed his shot.
Yikes. And it's the same coach who has not
Mhm.
aged a day,
He
but
hasn't,
yet
yeah.
Gordon is like 30 years later. It's the
Yeah.
same coach. Like,
Yeah.
do you have a kid on the team, sir? Like, why are
Yeah.
you here?
He's retired.
Like, suspicious.
Yeah, yeah. And then they go through, they play that first game and it's
Mhm.
just as you would expect,
They
completely
get
blown out.
creamed. Wait,
They
hold on. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go
Oh
ahead.
no, I was gonna say, just before we start talking about the actual game, another thing, like we were talking about last week with the Sandlot, how they really discouraged girls playing sports and how they made fun of girls playing sports. Literally at the beginning, at the face-off, or not the face-off, when the Ducks are still at the bench and a couple of Hawks players come over, they go, "Hey, girls,"
Oh, yeah.
and then they all start freaking out. No, this is not okay.
Mhm,
Like, how many movies of our generation actually did this to where it made it seem like calling someone a girl was an insult, and it was
mhm,
like the worst thing you could say to somebody, especially in sports, especially when they have Connie Moreau, who is one of the best players on the team, one of the best characters in this movie, proving girls can play sports just as well as the guys
mhm,
can.
mhm.
Ugh, caught on to it, had to mention it.
Yeah. But, I mean, they at least this movie, they have 2 girls on the team, and they do play a more of a
Yeah.
significant role than you would
Yeah, I
think.
mean, Tammy's got like 1 or 2 scenes. Connie's
Yeah.
the real hero
But
here,
Connie's
but
Connie's part of the
she's the main
main
team.
team. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. And again, better representation should have happened, but we will take the 2 that you guys gave us.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
For sure.
I agree. And she continues to be, with the Mighty Ducks throughout the other movies too,
She
so,
does. And she kills it.
yeah. So, that's good.
She's a good
Um,
player.
she's a good player. They
Simple as that.
she actually, now that we're talking about it, she does have a pretty significant role, I feel like. Like,
She does.
she's on the team and off the team, she's still part of all those scenes where, they do stuff outside of the ice rink.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
No,
they
she's
all accept her as,
yeah.
one of them.
Except for Guy, who's like in love with her.
Yeah, yeah.
Which who wouldn't be? She's amazing. We
Very
get
true.
it.
Yeah. But despite that, doesn't help the team. They
Mm-mm.
still get blown out by the
Yep.
Hawks in that first
Bad.
game, and
Is there no
they
mercy rule in hockey?
yeah, I feel like once you're up so many points, you should just call it,
Well,
but
especially kids hockey. Like I think they lose. Don't they lose like 14-0 or something
yeah,
crazy
something like that.
big?
Or 17, yeah.
7. It might be 17.
Yeah, something crazy. But they hone in on Coach Riley that nothing has changed
Mm,
from his, like, coaching style. The Hawks are still number 1, you know,
mhm.
they're the best in the league. They're, you know, they have to win every game
Yeah.
basically.
If you can't, it's not worth winning if you can't win big.
Yeah. But and then he kinda like, you can tell that he's enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he enjoying beating this team, but the fact that the coach was one of his players and he's beating
Mhm.
them. Like, I
He's
feel like
sticking it to Gordon. He's sticking
yeah,
it to Bombay. Yeah.
yeah. He's basically
Yeah.
saying, like, "You're wasting your time
Yeah. He's
being here."
vindictive.
Yeah.
Like he's the worst type of leader that any kids could follow.
Mhm, mhm.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't help that Gordon at this point in the movie, he's very, "I don't like children. I don't like hockey." Like, he
Mm,
has that sour attitude, so anything they do wrong, he is not afraid to point it out,
mm-mm.
call them names,
Yeah.
tell them this is the worst play I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just feel for these kids.
Well, and not to mention too that he also doesn't have any belief in them,
Mhm.
that instead of actually starting to teach them to play hockey, he teaches them to cheat
Yeah. Mhm.
and like starts teaching them like, do this hook shot, or like if you get hit, get on the ground and like cover your eye and act like you were hurt.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't teach them any skills on or off the ice. He's just
Mhm.
like, let me teach you guys how to cheat so I can get through my community service. and be done with you.
Which also comes from his profession as being a lawyer. Like, they portray him as this lawyer that kinda takes cheap shots,
Mhm.
and it translates over into, like you said, him teaching them how to cheat, you know?
Yeah.
That's how he's been operating the last, so many years.
Yeah.
And then I think one thing to point out too, his, like, childhood, was he like a mentor, Hans? I
I
guess
think
a
he was like a
mentor?
family friend.
Yeah. He, shows up at that very first game and is watching him.
Mhm. It's like, "Shame, shame, Gordon.
Mhm.
Shame, shame, we know your
Mhm.
name."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Poor kids. But,
Meh.
um, that I mean, having him even watching him coach and screaming at the kids, really hasn't changed his attitude yet at this point in the
No.
movie. So,
No. No, but then he does go see Han,
mhm.
and Han gives him some skates and is like, "You need to get back onto the ice, and
Yeah,
you need to remember what it is to be a hockey player, what it
yeah.
is to be out on the ice." And
Mhm.
that starts to change Gordon's feelings about
Yeah,
these kids.
yeah. Which this time around, I actually teared up at that, like, whole sequence, which I never
Aw.
did watching it as a kid, because they go through the whole, like, he lost his dad when he was little, like,
Mhm.
hockey was his passion, he played it all the time, and then all of a sudden, like, that one goal that he loses just completely ruins his life, and, like, he's never the same kid again. Like, he carried so much guilt with him through his
Yeah,
adult life,
yeah.
and I
His
think
dad was gone, hockey was gone, everything
yeah.
was gone.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then like you said, once he gives him the skates, it was like the turning point in the movie, like, his love for the game all of a sudden came back
Mhm.
just by
Yeah.
him, putting the skates on.
Yeah, and it also makes him realize that, like, okay, these kids are not only at a disadvantage because I wasn't teaching them, but they're also at a disadvantage, again, because they don't have the proper gear. So, like,
Mhm,
he goes to Ducksworth, his boss, who's, like, the nicest boss ever, got him out of his DUI, got him this cool
mhm.
community service, gave him the limo. Like, he's such a sweet boss and was just like, "Hey, can you give me $15,000 to get these kids proper gear?"
Yeah, yeah.
And Ducksworth says yes, and the only stipulation is that he's gotta name the team after him, which,
Mhm,
yeah, they become the Ducks, and then subsequently, that's why the Anaheim Ducks are named the Anaheim Ducks because they are owned by Disney, who made this movie,
mhm, mhm.
you know?
Yeah, and I do love that scene where they go through the sporting goods store and they get to pick out all the gear, because you
Yeah.
can tell, like, they've never put on real gear, so it's
Uh-uh.
like Disneyland to them.
Yeah.
They get all the cool pads and, the hockey sticks and
Yeah.
yeah,
What was
like
that
you
one supermarket sweep? Was that the game where, like, you could run through the store and get whatever could, like, fit in your cart in, like, the certain amount of time? Like, that's what it reminded me of. Was
um,
that super I don't know.
what?
I might be No?
That doesn't
I could
ring a
be
bell to
wrong.
me.
No? No. Okay, I'm just making that up. But it's like if someone gave you like 2 minutes to run through your favorite
Yeah,
store
yeah,
and grab whatever you could. Like if Shaquille O'Neal came and was like, "Imma tell you Imma buy whatever
yeah,
you want in this store. You got 2 minutes, go." That's my
and you're
Shaquille
at
O'Neal
Walmart.
impression. Yeah, I'm at Walmart, I would grab everything I like, that's how what that scene feels like,
Yeah,
is like they
yeah,
had 2 minutes, get whatever they want.
yeah, it's a happy scene, and
Yeah.
in that scene, you get a glimpse of Fulton,
Aw, Fulton
who,
Reed.
who looks way too old to be on this team, but anyways,
Mm,
um,
he was just tall. He was just tall.
he looks old for his age. Um, but, like, Gordon Bombay, like, has that he expressed interest, like,
Mhm.
"Who's this kid? He looks like he can play."
Yeah.
Like, kinda how do we get him? And the Ducks kinda give him some of, like, these rumors going around
Rumors.
about him that he has what, like, a football scholarship and can't play hockey or something?
Yeah, and then also, yeah, he's got a football scholarship, he can't play hockey. Also, that he's just, like, kind of a rough kid,
Yeah,
just because he's
yeah,
an outsider, which is not
yeah,
cool, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But, I mean, by then, at this point, now they've got the pads, now they're set up to, like, start from ground zero
Yeah,
and be
they're a
able to be
team.
coached by him. Yeah,
Yeah, they're a team now.
yeah. And Gordon goes through, a change in attitude, and all of a sudden he, wants to coach these kids, and you go through that sequence of, like, literally, they're starting from ground zero. It's a fresh
Mhm.
team. They've gotta go back to the basics, is
Yep.
what he says.
Learning how to pass, learning how to receive, learning how to
Mhm,
skate, just straight up Goldberg learning how to be an actual goalie because he was scared to get hit by the puck, which again, I hate to feed into these, but the fat kid does not have to be the goalie. You know, like I will say I do get excited in the third movie when Goldberg becomes like a defenseman. When he like actually gets to like, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that like being a goalie is not playing hockey, but like when he actually gets to play hockey and be a little bit more physical than because like let's be real, Goldberg's not the best goalie. Like they don't win games later in the movie because he's stopping goals. Yeah. He's not really stopping a lot of goals. They're just scoring more goals than the other team.
But he becomes a big personality in the core group of Mighty Ducks.
He does. And I think he's probably him and like Charlie Conway are probably the characters that a lot of people think of when they think of this franchise. Is like, goalie Goldberg. Like Shaun Weiss, such a brilliant, talented actor. So many kids' movies that he was in of that generation that he's just so funny and he's memorable and charismatic.
Yeah. He definitely brings comedy to this movie, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Like the lines and the way he delivers the lines, I think.
Yeah. I also wanted to know, like, how many times did his family threaten that they were moving to Philly?
Oh, that's true.
He's like, oh, don't worry. Like, I can't play. My family's moving back to Philly. My family's moving back to Philly.
And he stays the entire time.
He's there for the whole franchise. They never moved back to Philly.
Yeah. But it is interesting. I think the random drills that Gordon Bombay has them doing.
Yeah.
Like passing the egg.
Passing the egg, pretty smart. Or passing the football. The football one I didn't understand.
I didn't
like, you were the quarterback. Talk to the receiver. I was like, this feels... I don't know.
I see, like, I don't think it physically translates, but
no,
like I get it. I
mentally.
mean, I get where he's trying to go. But he definitely has an interesting style of bringing them back to basics.
Yes.
Especially the scene where, like you said, Goldberg is afraid to get hit by the puck. And that's really the reason why he's been, missing all these goals is because he doesn't want to get hit. And all of a sudden, when they all shoot at him and he realizes he can't feel them, he all of a sudden becomes a goalie.
What is he? He's like, I am Goldberg, the goalie.
Yeah.
He's like super pumped. Goldberg.
He's good though. He's good.
He is good.
But so now they become like, a team and they get to play, their next game. And you can definitely tell the difference.
Yes.
Like all of a sudden they can, skate better. They're actually passing to each other.
Talking to each other.
Yeah. There's some sort of like actual like formation positions. Yeah.
And like it's a gradual change because like it's not all of a sudden like the next game they're good. Or like they're better, but they're not all of a sudden like we won. It's like we tied.
Yeah.
We scored and then we tied.
Yeah.
We're not all of a sudden like the champions. Like it was a gradual progression for them to become good.
Yeah. But like you said, that's the game they score their first goal ever.
Yeah.
In like District 5 history.
District 5 history.
They score.
Yeah.
But we also at that point they had their jerseys, right? Like now they were the Ducks. Yeah.
They were the Ducks.
So that's another thing too. They actually came onto the ice with actual jerseys this time.
Mm-hmm. They were a team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they scored first goal in history. The other thing too that I noticed in all the games, how come only like Jesse's dad and Charlie's mom is there? Like, no other parents watch these games.
I saw that too. And I think that honestly is more of a movie technique to just show how actually terrible this team is that the kids' parents don't even believe it's worth their time.
Yeah.
Like they're so bad that the parents were just like, we'll drop you off, but we're not staying. Like, I mean, you always had that feeling where you want your parents to be at everything. Like, even if you're good or bad, you want them to support you. You want your family to be there. But like, I think it really was just like a technique to be like, ooh, these guys are not good. And then later in the movie, when they have a full crowd, you're like, who are these people?
Yeah.
We've not been introduced to any of these people in the crowd besides Jesse and his brother's dad, who I can't even remember what his brother's name is. Jesse's dad and Charlie's mom.
They're just random Duck fans.
But
we'll take them though. We'll take them.
We'll take them, but also like, who's really that intense about Pee Wee hockey that they just show up again? Do you got a kid on the team?
Yeah,
Is your nephew on the team? Why are you here? It's very strange to just support. I feel like Pee-wee
Yeah.
hockey without having a connection to it.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but
Yeah. But I mean, once they score these goals, now he's into, let's basically recruit people. And
mhm.
that's when he gets Fulton on the team,
Yeah,
who has like a really good shot. However, 1 out of
inaccurate.
5. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
he
not very
can't get it into the goal very many
yeah.
times.
Well, he ends up like finding Fulton because they're driving down him and his
Mhm.
driver are driving and their window gets shot out and they look in the alley and it's Fulton like hitting pucks to try to get it into the trunk and he
Yep.
missed
Mhm.
because he just has bad accuracy, but he just needs guidance.
Yes,
That's
yes,
all he needs.
definitely. Yeah. And then they
Yeah.
pick up who is
Tammy
it?
and
Tammy and is it
Tammy and
Timmy?
Timmy. Oh my
Tommy?
god, why we can't do Timmys and Tommies on this
I
show?
don't understand
It's
that.
too much of a trend. It's too much of a trend. But yeah,
But
Timmy and Tom or
yeah,
Tammy and Timmy slash Tommy.
I think it's
Sorry
Tommy,
guys,
but
Tammy and Tommy who are figure skaters
mhm,
and they already know how to skate. And
yeah,
Tommy has always wanted to play hockey, and that's what he tells Tammy is like, "You
yeah,
made me figure skate. I'm gonna make you play hockey."
mhm, mhm, and then they
They're on a
become part
team.
of the Ducks,
Yeah,
and that's the only new faces you get in
yeah,
this movie.
yeah.
Um,
The recruits.
yeah, yeah.
That's not true. That's not
I
true.
mean, unless you count Banks,
Thanks.
but
He
yeah,
comes later.
yeah, later in the movie.
He comes later.
Yeah. But I mean, at this point, they're playing, they've got some momentum now, and then they realize, like, they actually have a shot at this championship game.
They have a shot at
Um,
the playoffs.
yeah, and, you know, in as they're getting there, kinda Gordon Bombay's history comes back to him a little bit. So the Mighty Ducks don't know that he was a Hawks player. They don't know
Mhm.
any of the history, between him and Coach Riley. And, they end up finding out about some of that and, like, they lose trust in him, basically.
Mhm. Well, he also says like they pick or a couple of them eavesdrop on a conversation with
Mhm.
Coach Riley where he says like basically what, he sarcastically says to Coach Riley like, "Oh yeah, because like the Ducks don't deserve to live, they're losers." But of course because they're little kids, all they hear is like the Ducks don't deserve to win, they're losers. Which watching it now kind of frustrated me where I was like, "Hey, Bombay, had you just cleared up that you were being sarcastic, they
They
wouldn't have
woulda
lost
never
yeah, like, this
yeah.
whole entire thing wouldn't have happened, but I guess, again, as a movie technique, we need to go through that distrust and regaining it again in order to
Mhm.
get to a different place, but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, "Oh, hey, you little kid, I was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Carp,
Yeah.
you know what sarcasm is? No." Yeah.
Yeah. And they really don't wanna play for him anymore. And
Mm-mm.
Charlie, like, I think you kinda here's where you get his, like, he's starting to be, like, that leader figure on the team, I feel like, because he already had that connection with Gordon Bombay, looking for that father figure that he didn't have,
Mhm.
and he gets it from Gordon, and he kinda, like, wants to stand up to the team, like, "Hey, guys, we need to trust him. I trust him." Um,
Stick around.
yeah, like, this is gonna work, like, we
Yeah.
need to keep him type of thing. Um, and they do eventually, get there. They trust him
Mm.
again. They You do kind of get that sense that there's a divide between Charlie and the rest of the team until that point
Mhm.
happens. Um, and then, when they're in that classroom scene and they start making fun
Yeah.
of, Gordon
Charlie
and Charlie's
for
mom.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
also, like, making fun of Gordon, Charlie's mom, who, like, nobody asked for that romance.
Yeah. I actually
Why
thought
do
the
we need
same
it?
thing. I was watching this, I was like, we could have done without all of this.
Like, it's just I think, again, I think it goes back to this was supposed to be a movie focusing on Emilio Estevez's character, Gordon Bombay, and as an adult, of course, here's a woman who he can't just be platonic with, he's gotta have some kind of sexual tension or romance with. Like, I think
Mhm.
that was the whole plot device, and then again, when it became a hit with kids, I think it's shifted for the next movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but nobody asked for that romance.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing when
Mm-mm.
I watched it this time around. When I watched it as a kid, I don't think I really
I
even paid
didn't
attention to
care.
that. I kinda
Yeah.
glossed over it, but this time around, I was like, "This really doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right in this
No.
movie."
And it's also a little weird of like Charlie telling his like I love when I mean, we obviously our parents are still together. But I feel like it's very sweet when kids are like, my parents deserve someone. Like if they are single or they do deserve someone. But like it's a weird moment between Gordon Bombay and Charlie where he's sitting there and Charlie's just like, because his mom's a waiter at the restaurant there. He's like, she has many qualities that men find attractive. It's like, that's your mom, bro.
Yeah.
That's your mom. And then Gordon's just like, I noticed that. What kind of guys does she like? Like it's a weird
dynamic between
it is a weird dynamic where I think they're just trying to show like they're friendly, they're friends, they're getting to know each other, but at the same time it is supposed to be like an adult and child. Like it was a little bit strange to have that feeling. But like you're saying, when they're in the classroom scene, the kids are making fun of Charlie's mom and Gordon Bombay, but also the fact that after they decided not to play for Gordon, Charlie and Fulton were the only two kids to show up to the game.
Yeah, that supported him.
Yeah, and then they get in a little fight and then start bonding and start quacking at the teacher, which I also was just like, how are all of these kids in the same class?
Yep.
You guys are like in a range from like I think Timmy/Tommy, he's got to be the youngest and he's got to be like 9 or 10. I think like Charlie and Jesse Fulton, they've got to be 13.
Probably, yeah.
Like, how are you guys all in the same science class? It makes no sense.
Yeah. But I think too, that's what makes it fun, is like they spend their whole days together, basically, like in and out of school. But it's very unrealistic that your whole team's going to be all in the same class.
No. Yeah.
But
I think it was very, very strange. Also, why so many layers with the outfits? That's what I noticed too. I was like, why do you guys have 18 layers on?
It's cold outside. None of them have real jackets on.
No, inside the class.
Oh,
they've got like
inside the
20
classroom.
like I was there in the 90s. I was younger than these kids, but like I don't remember that many layers. I don't know. It was something
adds to their fashion. Yeah. But the other thing too, when they're so they get detention after quacking at the teacher or the principal. The principal makes them like write sentences.
Yeah.
Is that a detention thing?
It's
like
very old school
detention thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very old school. I mean, you don't watch The Simpsons. I don't watch The Simpsons, but like in the intro of The Simpsons, Bart gets attention and he's like writing sentences too. I think it's just an old school. We were good girls and never got detention. We don't know what happens there. Well, it's true. I got one detention in high school and it was because I skipped class and got caught. I went to an extra lunch.
Yeah. I got called. I remember getting called into the security office.
Oh.
Because apparently when I was old enough to drive to school, I parked in the teacher parking lot. And apparently a teacher told me to move, which to this day, a teacher never told me to move. Had a teacher told me to move, I would have moved my vehicle.
Maybe a teacher told another kid to move, thinking it was the owner of that
and then
car.
I go in and security guards yelling at me. It's like, when a teacher tells you need to move, you need to move. I was like, geez, like, okay, I got it.
Calm down, Chugiak High School. Slow your roll.
Not
slow
to
your
call
roll,
any schools
sir.
out or anything, but
not to call any schools out, but slow your roll.
Yeah. So sorry, I went off a tangent. That still makes me upset to this day. But
clearly, we felt that. Everybody felt that anger,
that passion behind it. So they gain the trust back of Gordon Bombay, and now we're working towards
because Gordon shows up in detention, though.
Yeah, to save them. Yeah.
He basically shows up and apologizes, and that's where he clarifies what you heard was sarcastic.
Yeah.
But then we also are skipping over a huge thing. While Gordon is kind of recruiting new kids and reliving his like feelings as a hawk, he goes and talks to Jan and basically, or Han. Oh my gosh, they're brothers. One is Hans and one is Jan. It's the one is in each movie, the first and the second. I cannot keep their names straight. This one is Hans, I think. God, guys, we really should know this.
I have my notes down here, and I think I wrote his name somewhere.
Yeah,
Han.
so
I wrote
cool.
Hans.
Han. Okay, so basically, Han tells him if Gordon were playing hockey right now, he wouldn't even be a Duck anymore. They restructured the boundaries of the districts, and the pond that we see him like through the flashbacks and where he gets his passion back is no longer the boundary. So Gordon goes to the Hawks and tells them, hey, you have one player here who should not be playing for the Hawks. He should be playing for the Ducks. And it's their best player, Adam Banks. The Ducks don't like that. They don't like that Banks now is part of their team, which I never understood.
Make it very clear.
Yeah, make it very clear,
So,
especially Jesse. I don't understand the beef between Jesse and Banks. Like if a new kid, maybe it's because Banks was a jerk to them.
yeah, he was like a bully, him and his 2
Yeah.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But like Jesse is extremely aggressive with his distrust and hate. Calls him a cake eater, which I had to look up. Cake eater is like a derogatory term for somebody who lives in a specific neighborhood in Minneapolis. I'm assuming it's like a rich neighborhood. But yeah, nobody on the team trusts Banks really, but he wants to play hockey, so he shows up and plays and scores,
Mhm.
and then they're all cheerful when he scores.
And Jesse's
Um,
still
and Jesse's still like, cake
yeah.
eater.
I think he's really protective of his team too.
Yeah,
Like, we have this Mighty Ducks, this is our team, we stick together, and to have someone new is like I think it was if it was a
verboten.
random new person, so like Fulton and
Yeah,
Tammy
there's
that
no
have no
history
back
behind it.
yeah, there's no
Yeah,
backstory with them, so,
that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. But, I mean, eventually their you can tell their friendship starts
Yeah,
to
soften a little
form.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, and they're they show the next, few games of them beating all these teams to get to the
Mhm.
top,
They're winning.
to get to that playoff game, um, and they build momentum, and it's really all about fun too.
Yeah,
Like,
go out there and
Gordon
have fun.
in the beginning of the movie, he starts very, "We need to win, you guys are stupid, blah, blah, blah," but then now we're at this point, and it's really I mean, we'd like to win, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter as long as we're having fun while
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Yeah, he's a different coach, Gordon Bombay is by this time
Mhm,
in the movie. A
mhm.
different coach and a different person.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's softened. He's now realized he was being too hard on these kids
mhm,
for, he was what is it? He was doing those toxic habits that he was taught when he was a kid from
yeah,
Coach Riley
yeah,
now on
yeah,
these kids. And he was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do that anymore. Let's just
yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that drove that for him too is do you remember the part where, like you said, Banks gets, redistricted to the Mighty Ducks, but then they set up this meeting with Banks's dad, Mr. Ducksworth,
Yeah.
and Coach Riley, and they're basically
Mhm.
saying, "You let him play for us, and you won't lose your job." And he basically has to make the decision, and he decides to, "No, I'm gonna lose my job, and the team's gonna
Yeah.
be our team," and, you know so
Yeah.
I think that too, like, when his whole life was, like, winning, being this hotshot lawyer, and then now all of a sudden
Mhm.
he's choosing the Mighty Ducks over that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
We
love
like that.
personal growth.
We do.
Yay.
We're all about rehabilitation.
We are. We're all rehabilitating the growth. Yes,
Um,
agreed.
so now we're here to kind of like the end point of the movie where this is the game, Mighty Ducks and
Championships.
Hawks.
Mhm.
Um, and tensions are high, you can already see that,
Mhm.
between the coach, but I think he still maintains, like, let's have fun. But towards that beginning of the game, whether it's nerves or, they're scared or whatever, they're not playing their best.
No.
The
They're
Hawks
just yeah. The Hawks
are
are
kind
still
of still
dominating.
Mhm,
Yeah, I think too, like, what one thing that got me that I thought was really interesting, and I think I noticed it as a kid, but this time it really stuck, is like, so the crowds now are huge. The Ducks crowd is
mhm,
popping. It's not just, Charlie's mom and Jesse's dad. Like, they have a whole following. But there's a camera shot of Banks's dad, who at this point, Banks has been playing on the team for a couple games. Like,
mhm.
he's a Duck. Banks's dad is in Hawk gear.
On the Hawk side.
Yeah, he is
Mhm.
still rooting for the Hawks. And like, I
Yeah.
saw that this time and I was just like, it goes back to like, the Ducks parents didn't even show up, but to have your parents show up and like root for the other team, that
Mhm,
just really has got to hurt. I mean, they
mhm,
don't really ever show Banks feeling that way, but like Jesse makes a comment when they go onto ice being like, "Hey Banks, remember what team you're on?" And Gordon is like, "He's a Duck, Jesse." But then
mhm.
it's like, how can Banks be a Duck when his dad is still a Hawk?
Yeah, yeah,
And like rooting for the Hawks. I thought that was really sad and just
yeah,
no,
but
no, no,
yeah, but like you said, Banks doesn't ever show that, like, he just wants to play
no.
hockey
He
no
just
matter
wants to
what
play.
team he's on,
Yeah.
and when he gets on the ice with the Ducks, he's the same Banks, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Coach Riley, like, basically tells his players, like, target Banks,
Mhm,
get him out of the game. I want him out. and one of the Hawks players pushes him, and he scores, but he gets a concussion and like literally has to be taken out on a back stretcher, which that's got to be scary for a parent, scary for a coach, scary for a team. But that's kind of the moment when Jesse and Banks become friends, I
Yeah.
think.
I think so.
Like he says like, Jesse, kick some Hawk butt.
Yeah, he
And
feels for
Jesse,
him.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jesse's like, of course, cake eater. Like, I got you. We got you. And it's kind of that
Yeah.
moment of like, oh, they're friends, but
Yeah.
now he's on the way to the hospital.
Yeah, which is an awful thing for a coach to ask. Like, "Hey, I need you to take this kid
Yeah.
out." Like,
Well, not to mention too, when the guy goes into the penalty box and the coach goes up to him, he's like, yeah. Like he
yeah,
fist pumps and is like, good
Yeah.
job. Like
Yeah.
that's just messed up.
yeah, and then that kinda changes Gordon's
Gordon.
attitude a little bit, like a more drive to win.
Yeah, because
He's
he goes
like
up to him and says,
he's like, "You're
I
going
can't believe I
down,"
ever,
like,
yeah, like I
basically.
can't believe I ever looked up to you. I think that's what he says to him or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Suck
yeah,
it, Coach Riley.
yeah. So now we're at the latter part of the game where I feel like the Mighty Ducks shine more. Like now you see this team as like the team that has all these creative plays
Yeah.
that are different than any
Yes.
other hockey team.
Yes. Gordon Bombay's weird coaching comes back into play here a lot.
Yeah. And they have like these, what would you even call them? Like trick plays?
Trick plays, because we're such hockey aficionados. Trick
Yeah.
plays.
I have disclaimer, I have no knowledge of hockey whatsoever other than the Mighty Ducks movies.
Yep. Which taught us nothing
Exactly.
about hockey.
Exactly.
Let's be real. Taught us nothing about the game of hockey.
Yeah. But I mean, they have all these plays, but I think the one that stands out to well, at least to me, I don't know everyone who watches this movie, but is that the flying V play.
Oh, everybody. I don't know how many parties I went to in college, or even just anything where guys would be like, the flying V, and like a bunch of dudes would run over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that he picked Jesse to lead it, because that wouldn't have been my first choice.
Why?
Because I just feel like Charlie was his, like, he was under his wing. He kind of like pushed him to be like that little Gordon, basically.
Here's my beef with Charlie. Charlie is not the best player on the team.
Yeah.
He has never been the best player on the team. Joshua Jackson as an actor, Charlie Conway as a character, is one of our favorites because he's written to be one of our favorites. Like he is the predominant kid. And Joshua Jackson is such an amazing actor and we love him in everything he does, but he was not the best player.
Yeah.
Everyone?
But he's portrayed as the leader.
He is portrayed as the leader, but that has some ipso facto become like, oh, he's the best player. He's not. He's maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
4 even. He's not the best player. Sorry.
Yeah. But I do love that they picked Jesse. And one thing that Gordon says, he has, who is it? Jesse, I think it's Guy and Jesse's brother. He's like, all right, Oreo line.
Oh, yes,
I don't know how I feel about that.
Okay, let's talk about that.
I'm
Because
coming from a mixed family.
So here's an interesting thing. They are called the Oreo line in the first game against the Cardinals when they come up for the face-off, and it's Jesse, Guy, and then Jesse's brother. And the other player is like, what is this, the Oreo line? That's interesting that you don't know how you feel about it, because I actually have down in my notes, I love that at the end of the championship, one of their trick plays is using this Oreo line as like a defense strategy, and they score, and Jesse goes, all right, Oreo line. I love that they took back the term Oreo line and made it like a positive. But you don't like it?
I have mixed feelings. Like you said, in the very beginning, it had a very negative feeling to it. And
it was
like,
racist.
Like, because I remember I've been called that before when I was little, and I was like, I don't like that. But like you said, as they get further into the movie, they kind of embrace that term and use it again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. No, it's not used in the next 2. It's only this movie that is used in. Maybe because Disney was like, that's racist.
Probably.
Maybe they realize it's not funny. It's racist. But the Oreo line scores, and then Tammy does her figure skating where she twirls and distracts them and scores. Fulton hits a one
Yep.
right in, and
Yep.
then they're oh no, they're
They're
tied.
tied to go to the penalty shot.
Well, it's not, but it's not to go to the penalty shot, actually. It's because Charlie I thought that too. It's because Charlie is going to score with a couple seconds left, and he actually gets a penalty shot.
Uh,
Not that they're like
I
because it's
completely missed that.
tied.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
I
because they're
completely missed
completely
that.
tied. It's because he gets hooked. And that's why
Mm,
it's only Charlie taking the penalty shot because he
gotcha,
actually got the penalty on him or
gotcha.
against him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you know hockey.
Yay! I learned something. I don't know why I have a pen in my hand. It's weird.
But yeah, so Charlie takes this penalty shot and he gets to show off his famous, triple D maneuver that Gordon, which I don't remember ever in the movie him actually teaching that.
No, never at any point
So,
do we see them work one on one. It
yeah.
was, I think, again, it was maybe something shot earlier that didn't make it into the movie, or just something to show like their relationship again. Like we've been
Mhm.
doing private
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounded bad. Like we've been coaching privately.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it works and they
It
win.
works. Woo!
And it's amazing. Not only is it amazing they've scored all these goals along the way because they came from a team that never scored
Never
anything,
scored.
and now they won and
Yeah,
they beat the Hawks, which I loved because you not that you hate the other team, but, like,
but we
you
do.
want a good team to win. You want these good
Yeah,
these good kids to win
yeah,
because they worked hard.
yeah. I also wonder too. The coach or Coach Riley at one point says, if you guys don't beat them, nobody makes the team this year. Did
Mhm.
anybody make the team or next year? Did anybody make the team next year from the
Yeah,
Hawks? And
they
did
did.
did more kids try out for the Ducks because they all
Yeah,
of a sudden were winning now?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
in the next movie we have the same kids, so it seems like they didn't, but
yeah. I think that was just an empty threat. He needs
maybe.
kids on his team, so
Yeah. Again, Coach Riley, do you have a kid on the team? Like, why are you here? Did you get fired? Who knows?
Yeah,
But yeah.
but they win, and it's just a happy moment, it's a feel-good moment. They're now,
Mhm.
like I feel like now they're official. They're an official, like,
They're a
Pee-wee
team.
team,
They're
and they're the
champions.
best, yeah. So and you see, like, the bond between everyone and,
Mhm.
at this point, we're at the end of the movie, and Gordon decides to actually, you know, try out for the minor league.
Yeah, pursue hockey
Yeah,
again.
because now his love for the game has come back.
Mhm.
But he still maintains that, he's always gonna be their coach and he's gonna be back next season
Yeah, he's gonna
to
be back
play.
next season, which is I mean, that's a good feeling, like, again, we love a full circle transformation and a
Mhm.
character redeeming himself, but the fact that he's like, "Nah, like, I'm gonna go live my dream, but, like, my dream is also to be your coach," is very
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, yeah. We love that. And I love how, like, that last scene, each of the kids kinda, like, say a line
Yeah,
from what he's taught them, basically.
yeah, except for Banks and Cake Eater.
Oh, well,
Whatever,
yeah,
Banks, just
but
trying to be cool.
whatever. He's part of the team now.
Yeah, he's fine, which we love, and
Yeah.
let's be real, we all had crushes on Adam Banks.
Yes, yes. We did.
Then when
Him
we
and
got
Charlie.
older I was about to say, I started out an Adam Banks girl, and then I moved over to Charlie at the
Mhm.
end.
Yeah.
Like, by 3, I was like, "Alright." Again, this is, like, minor Britney, not Britney now, minor Britney being like,
Yes. Thanks for making that clarification.
somebody's gonna out there be like, "What?" I mean, Joshua Jackson now, ooh la la. Him and Jodie Turner-Smith, ugh,
Mhm.
mm-mm. That's a whole other podcast, me just basking in their glory, but yeah, definitely had some crushes on those, Mighty
Yeah.
Ducks boys for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. But no, it's definitely a feel-good movie.
It is.
It's another childhood classic.
Childhood classic that
Mhm.
hits differently as an adult now, but still equally fun to watch.
It does. So, with that being said,
Mhm.
super important question now.
Super duper.
Do you think this movie still holds up or it's just nostalgia?
My official answer is that it still holds up, but it's not my favorite in the franchise.
Yeah, I would agree. I I actually have a hard time answering this question on this one because
Oh.
it isn't my favorite of the trio.
Mm-mm.
Um, but I think it does still hold up.
It holds up.
I think it
It
does.
it can still hold up and not be our favorite.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not one that I would go back and watch all the time, like Sandlot. Like, I'd still go back and watch that all the time. This one
Mhm.
out of the trio is not the one that I would reach for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of like leads into a good thing. You guys, do you want us to go over Mighty Ducks 2, which is our favorite of the
Mhm.
trio? If it is, and you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and put in the comments you want to see us do Mighty Ducks 2. While you're there, give us a like, give us a subscribe, share with your friends, share with your families. We appreciate you guys. If you're listening to us on our podcast platforms, thank you so much for downloading the episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our podcast so you guys know when we have new episodes coming out. We will be putting out full episodes every Tuesday. And then on Fridays, we're going to do the lightning round, just asking each other a bunch of random questions about the movie that we just watched.
Mhm.
Next week, we're going to be feeling the rhythm, feeling the
Yep.
might. Come on now, it's
Mhm.
Cool Runnings time.
Love
Just
that
in
movie.
case you guys didn't hear that, we're doing Cool Runnings next week.
Cool Runnings. Yep.
Go ahead and watch the movie so you guys can come back here and chat with us. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you listening to our last few episodes that we put out.
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
been fun. Thank you so much. Yeah, we will be here. We hope you guys will be too.
Exactly. Be sure to watch Cool Runnings.
Yes.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.